Hey, how we going, guys? Mickey here from Up Cartel. Back another kick-ass, well, not a beer review, it's a mead review. So, those that have been following along with the social media, mostly Instagram, would see that I've gone back to making some mead. And at the moment, we have 3 batches out and bottled. Plan is to do bulk aging once I get a few more carboys. 5 litre demigens under my belt. So basically these 3 were started at around about the same time, so we're looking close to 2 months of with fermentation and with the bottling. So we'll go basically what I feel is probably going to work the best. We have a 2-berry, which is a raspberry and blueberry. Then we have the kumquat, and then I have a spice mead, which is the mefloquin. So we've got 2 millimils, basically 2 millimils, and then a mefloquin, which I'll do last. So most of these pretty much started off at the same original gravity. We're starting with the 2-berry, so we'll go, yep. Alright, so with the 2-berry, 2.2 kilos of, I guess you could call it a mixed blossom or wildflower honey. 200 grams of frozen blueberries, 200 grams of frozen raspberries. That went into primary. 300 grams, a further 200 grams of raspberries into secondary, and another 200 grams of blueberry into secondary. So you basically doing the racking and transferring back into another carboy off the lease, and it's basically so on. I've been a little bit more patient this time around making the meads, and got extra additions going into as well. So I've got things like instead of using black tea for the tannins, I'm using I think it's a walnut or chestnut extract for the tannins. Nutrients, which I didn't use the first and second attempts at making mead, therefore I wasn't really in the best, off to a best start with the meads in that. Entered into the competition, didn't get very good feedback, so this time round going into competition we hope the feedback's a lot better. I've got Red Hill competition coming up soon in 2025, so we're going to head for that. Yeah, so with the additions of a few other extra ingredients, so wine stabilisers, we've got pectinase to help break down the pectins, help clear these up a little bit better, and so forth. So that's basically it. And then back sweetening, obviously when we've stabilised using a wine stabiliser, we're back sweetening with more honey, just to bring the sweetness back up a little bit. And because I'm not particularly fond of a dry mead, I've sort of found out from the first couple of times that I'd made mead that definitely need to do some back sweetening. So most of them started off at a 1.100 and come down to a 1.000. A couple of them did go, well, all 3 of these ones did go lower than that to a 0.998 thereabouts. All is pretty much similar, so it's a very much same base recipe. We're just talking different additions in these ones. So you're looking anywhere from 30 to the way I put it, $30 to $40 to make a batch, which is relatively good considering you could pay around about $25 for a decent. Anywhere up to $50 for a decent bottle, 700ml bottle of mead. So anyway, let's look at this raspberry and blueberry first. The colour is amazing on this. It has some really good clarity, like it is cleared up. It is more colour I've seen deeper, richer looking meads on a couple of the forums and Facebook pages that use similar fruit, and they're actually completely transparent. So I'm guessing these guys are using a clay-based clarifier, which is a quick drop as well, which probably I'll look at down the road at some point. But you know, for yourself, just like beer, I just don't, you know, like a clear beer is always good presentation, but it's not always down to style either. But you know, we'll go in for the aroma. This has almost got like a hibiscus tea sort of thing going on in it. A really sort of prominent fruit. The blueberries, raspberries work really well together. So does, you know, with the colour. And I'm getting the honey on the back sweetening. There's some other things going on there. I think that sort of comes down. They were old frozen raspberries and blueberries. I sort of just dug them out of the freezer. They still look quite good. There was no sort of icing, sort of, you know, oxygen ingress or anything within the bags of the fruit. They were still quite good. Basically fresh frozen. They weren't even open, so they still look great when I opened up the bag. It's going for a taste. This one really does have that sort of hits you up the back of the jaw, so it is a little bit sort of, I guess, got some a bit of a sour point to it. That's definitely within the fruit. The only real difference with these is that there's different yeast being used as well. So this one actually used S189, which is it's a lager yeast, and it's good to 15% tolerance. So it's well within sort of I guess it's a ballpark, 10 to 15 for a mead. Decent aroma. It's puckering. Does a decent mouthfeel, which is good, which you need. That's the tannins that are acting within the meat, bringing that sort of mouthfeel across. So in conjunction with wine stabilizer, we're using Camden tablets, which is a pretty common thing within particularly winemaking. So I'm confident that one will do well, or you know, there'll be some negatives, I guess, coming from the judges. Not entered Red Hill before, so you're up against commercial mead makers as well, or meaderies. So I'm really going to enjoy the feedback this time. The first time I entered Meads was in a local comp in Newcastle, and it's a very, very consistent competition, to be honest. You just read the reviews. They didn't have all the BJCPs, all the judges turn up. They had stand-in judges, and a bit of conflict with myself and the way that competition was presented. So there's not exactly a really good, a few people I've spoken to, it's not a good reputation for things outside of beer, B-ciders and mead. I feel as this guys, they just weren't in the position to be able to judge things like that. Neither am I, because I don't really know much about it, but I feel the the comments could have been a lot better. Anyway, kumquat. Now this one's a little bit stirred up. I've poured it out of the bottom end of a bottle, so it was actually a lot clearer than that. It was very clear, but it's sort of a tail end of a experimental, not experimental, but just a bottle I had sitting there. We are using these plastic spirit bottles. There's a bit more clarity in that one. So basically, it's not the best presentation. It was a lot better than that, but it is what it is. This one pretty much the same. The 2.2 kilos of honey, 150 grams of kumquat in the primary, and we racked a secondary, and we used another 150 grams of kumquats. The same, the nutrients, the tannins, the stabilising, and back sweetening. 300 grams of orange blossom to back sweeten this one. So we've used the same honey in the primary and back sweeten with orange blossom, which is quite expensive to buy from the local supermarket. So this has everything that you'd expect from kumquats. So those who had kumquats will know that kumquats are pretty much consumed whole, and skin and all. You have to be particularly, I guess, on point when you harvest and consume kumquats. They can be a gut irritant if you have too much of it, like a laxative sort of thing going on there, and acid, particularly within the flesh. If it's too acidic, then you do, quickly need to go to the toilet. Let's just say that. I've been lucky. I've been able to get a hold of quite a few bags of kumquats this season. Season's just sort of finished, or it's finished a couple of months ago. I've just thrown them in the freezer. That also helps with the breakdown of the cell structures of the fruit, and so does the pectinase when we use the pectinase to help break down that as well, and that's supposed to help with clarity. What more can I say? I said I've been quite lucky to have so much kumquat that I've used it in beers just recently. I'm using it in the mead. I've got another one in the fridge which is a kumquat and habanero, so it'll be slightly spicy. Smells of kumquat, smells of orange blossom, smells of honey, smells of white wine, gooseberry sort of thing going on there. They all have sort of that little bit of white wine character. Well, this one more of the previous one we just had, more of a rosé there. I think that's to do with the type of fruit that's gone into it. But the colour may be just psychologically telling me I've got a bit of a rosé thing going on. But I feel I taste something like that in it, in for a taste with this one. It does smell really, really good. It's something intriguing. It could be off-putting to some, but to me it's like, oh, this has got that, oh no, I need to know what it tastes like sort of thing going on with the aroma. So it does have a zest, bitterness about it. Some may say pithy, but for me, when they're ripe, there's not a lot of pithiness about it. That the flesh sort of cuts through the flavour of the skin, and so being so small, you don't really want to peel. You can, when they're nice and ripe, you can squeeze and pop them into your mouth and get the juices, and you get a little bit of the oil that goes in with it from the skin. That's what's going on in here. So the oils and the zest and the flesh. The sweetness of this one doesn't quite cut through as much as because of that bitterness, and it lingers. So there's the kumquat flavour really lingers in this, and the honey, the sweetener just hangs in there, so you don't get that sort of that mouth drying bitterness that you get with some, particularly if you're going to eat something that's not quite ripe, and you catch a bit of of the zest or the pith. Sort of don't get it with this. It cuts through nicely. And so the next thing to play around with is obviously acidity and sweetness. There is other additives that we can use in meads, as with winemaking, that would help balance these sorts of things out. So you can add different sort of ingredients, and you can add back some common things out of your pantry that will help balance things out. So it's a matter of playing around with it. This just to me is going to be a house mead. It's going to be a mead that every year when I get an opportunity to grab the kumquats, I'm just going to grab them. They are commercially available. Sometimes you'll get them at Woolworths and Coles, but the season is very short and they sell quite quickly. They're not the cheapest thing to buy either, but because you don't need a lot to make mead, it's probably a really good ingredient to include in something down the lines of this sort of brewing. Really, really nice. It's just, I like it a lot. It's to my standards, to my taste. The Hop Cartel, we're very, I brew a lot of things left field. A lot of things that other people don't like, but let's go on to the Mefligan. This one does have a lot of things going into it. Find the right, there it is. Okay, so the same 2.2 kilos of honey in this. I do apologise if this video is a little bit too long for some, but can be interesting because the length that is the video is obviously we're reviewing 3 different meats, so we'll try and keep it to the 20 to 25 minute mark. 2.2 kilos of honey. Once again, it's what I consider a mixed blossom or wildflower honey. The one I've been buying is it's a 2.5 kilos from Woolworths. I've just read on the second bottle that I've used, I've just read that it's also contains imported honey, so I was a bit sort of put off by that, but still a really good flavoured honey. It works really well in the mead. There's no real sort of issues in the. I'd love everything to be Australian, but sometimes it's just not what it's. Yeah, it's just not what it is. So yeah, 2.2 kilos again. 2 cinnamon sticks. 1 tablespoon of crushed coriander seeds. 1 tablespoon of sweet orange peel powder. 6 grams of licorice root extract. And then we use the tea bag. That tea bag contains, it's 6 grams in total of these tea bags. So licorice root extract is part of this. So there is licorice root extract, fennel, ginger, cloves. There's more cinnamon in it, which I didn't actually read until after I've used these tea bags. Orange peel, lemon peel, that's it. That's all that's in there. So that tea bag contains licorice root extract, fennel, ginger, cloves, cinnamon, orange peel, lemon peel, and then the extra orange peel, sweet orange peel powder. So a fair whack scored into this. Nothing except for 2 more cinnamon sticks were added into the secondary. I just wanted to bring that cinnamon through a little bit more. I could have done with a lot more ginger, I think, in this, But this one's more of that. This will be Christmas 2025. This will be a bottle that a couple of bottles there, but I'm going to really enjoy breaking out. I think it's going to age well. The aroma when this was brewing and going through the secondary racking, they all sort of went through 3 stages with the racking before I decided to bottle. Like I said, I was a little bit more patient, but I was still a little bit impatient too. It was, I should have waited a lot longer. But like I said, I need to buy more carboys, give myself some more space, and then I'll start bulk aging. So these things will just sit in the carboys and bulk age, and we'll get a lot better clarity. So it's not too bad. Still got the similar sort of haze going on about it, which I think we can, with a few extra tweaks and some friendly chemicals or additions, I think we can really get it down to crystal clear. It's all about time. Give it time. But at the moment, like I say, there's two more in the fermentation chamber. I just need to get a collection, get some bottles stored and ready to go. So the aroma of this one, this actually did have a little bit of extra back sweetening as well. We needed to cut through. I probably added a little bit too much honey for back sweetening, just to cut through. There was that, like I said, the issue of the aroma. Flavour wasn't too bad, and I probably should have just been a little bit more patient and let the aroma sort of fizzle out and come into its own. Age would have probably done it a lot better than adding a little bit too much honey. So this one would have back sweetened out to 1.155 or something like that. I should have maybe checked it. I can still check it because it's stabilised. It's not going anywhere. I could probably have a quick check on how much it's been back sweetened. Yes, it's pretty sweet, but I think it's just enough there to cut through some of the stuff that's going on. So I feel the tea bags are an easy and effective addition to a mead. A lot of people are doing it, but I think you need to be really careful about what ones you use. And this one in particular, I think just hurt the meat a little bit too much. So, but it's smelling a lot better now. Yeah, done about the same time. I mean, there's probably 2 or 3 days apart when they were all started. But you pick up the cinnamon, bit of citrus in there. You definitely pick up the cloves and the licorice root extract. Definitely fennel. I mean, I use fennel. Fenugreek in a beer, which was the licorice maple stout that I'd done, which you can go and find the video on here. Really need to be careful how much you add. This is very Christmassy. This is it's going to be one of those ones where you've just finished indulging in your prawns, your ham, your roast pork, your chicken, whatever you might have had for the spread for Christmas. It just probably need to sit down. I reckon this would go really good with duck, a roast duck. Barbecue duck, Chinese style duck. think it'll really cut through the fattiness. Slight gaminess of a duck meat, particularly the skin, a crispy skin duck, I think would go really good with this. Roast pork, definitely. Also easy, a really good one I think to pull out after you've had a good feed for lunch. Christmas dinner. To wipe the palate, I think, yeah, it'll definitely be a nice sipper, a nightcap after you stuffed yourself stupid. It's really starting to turn into the style I was heading for. Like I said, probably a little bit too sweet, but even if it's not quite right, you're going to find a place for it. I think, like most things, particularly wines and meads and things like that, if you plan to get through it, pair it with a food, because you'll probably find that food's going to add something a little bit more, sort of an extra depth to the meat and help break through the depth of the food and also the depth of the meat. So I think this would really go well with anything around Christmas, and I'm going to mainly say a crispy skinned duck, 100%. Anyway, thanks for sticking it out. Yes, it's a long video. We are getting through 3 different meads here. As mentioned, the plan is to get a little bit more in depth. Fucking enjoying it. Really enjoying this journey going back into the mead. I 100% thoroughly have sort of broadened what I want to do here. I'm going to finish off these 3. Once again, they all sit around that 10 to 11% ABV. A little bit higher would be nice, but I think that around that 10%, it's my liking anyway. So I don't think I'd have many complaints from others either who have tasted commercial meads and sort of very limited in what you can buy from your local shops. You've got to go in obviously special meaderies and stuff to get some different flavours and some weird and wacky, wild and funky meads. And that's what we're doing here, because we don't want to be paying silly prices for it if we can do it ourselves. So the 2-berry actually come in at 10.2. The kumquat come in at just a little bit over 10.3, which is it's saying good things about the 2-berry, because that was the lager yeast, and then we use MA33 wine yeast for the kumquat and the methylglyn. So those guys, well, kumquat come in a little bit higher. The methylglyn significantly, we were up into the 13s there with that one, because it did drop down into the 900s, and strangely nothing added to that methylglyn contributed to extra sugars or fermentables, be it fructose or simple sugars, where the other 2 did, but we managed to get that. So there's something about the MA33 and the methylglyn. MA33 really liked something about that, and it did take it to a drier point. I think that was maybe the main struggle with some of the aromas and flavours, and a little bit extra back sweetening needed. Apart from that, everything's pretty much the same. The bases are the same. We wanted to keep it basically easy. get that process going, stays in my head, and I can just keep rolling these meads out with the same base recipe, and I don't really have to go back over my notes. And other things are sort of winging it. But once we've got it written down and we know what to play with, definitely less honey in the Mafligan next time. Cheers.